Stress is one of those inhibitors that can stop us from going after what we want, or can create this wall in our mind that we can't do it. And stress is one of those things that you can control, that you can manage. I know as a solopreneur, you're going to deal with a lot. You're going to wear multiple hats within your own business and then also in your personal life. Me, I'm a father of two and a husband, and also a son and a brother, and people count on me on the personal side. But also, I run my own business, and then I have other people that depend on me. And it can be stressful at times. Like today. Today I spent time really thinking hard about what it is that I want to create content about for YouTube and create valuable content. I finally had the opportunity to sit down and really think about what it is that I want to provide value to filmmakers, and then also niche down on who I want to speak to exactly. And for this purpose, I want to speak to wedding filmmakers for my Sundial Creatives channel. And for this channel, I want to speak to anyone who's a solopreneur or wanting to become a solopreneur or whatever it may be. But just to gain some value out of this and really share some of the behind the scenes throughout this whole process. And these things can be stressful. Today, my goal was to, write down all of my ideas, transfer it from my mind to the computer, back to my mind. You know what I'm saying? And keep repeating this process and keep adding more ideas, but then follow through on these ideas and execute them, because they're not easy and they're very stressful. I will tell you that. And so just with that being said, today was successful. I was able to manage my own stress by doing it, executing and pushing through. There were times where I wouldn't want to work out. And if I did work out like I did today and went ahead and started editing or started thinking, I would feel very tired. And sure enough, I surely did today. I took a 10-minute nap, but I got right back to it. I didn't let the excuse keep lingering on. When you have all this time on your hands, you can sometimes fall into the trap of not using your time wisely. And I've done that in the past, but we're not doing that any longer. And really sat down, wrote out all the ideas for the YouTube channel for Sundial Creatives and also for this personal YouTube channel. This one is not as in-depth as I will for my Sundial, but I want to still provide value to you guys and speak on topics rather than just vlogging the whole time. So it's going to be a mix of vlogging and adding some value. And with that being said, I then ran into this roadblock today. The first kind of stressor is I have tons and tons of behind the scenes footage from these past two weddings I filmed this past week. These 2 weeks, beginning of the year, 2025. And look, they're amazing. I got so much content, but I felt overwhelmed. I was like, great. I feel overwhelmed. I have, to start on a trailer tomorrow. Then I have another trailer due, and I need to start on 2 films and finish them by the end of this month to get delivered on time. That's always in the back of my mind. And when I'm creating content for myself, it becomes very stressful because I feel like I need to be working for my couples and doing what they've asked me to do. And I definitely do that as well. But I have time now. I made sure to work in my contracts to give myself enough ample time to work on the things I want to work on and on the business, and then also create these amazing wedding films. I didn't have that balance beforehand. And so that caused me to have so much anxiety and stress, where I would just deprive myself of creating content for my own passion projects, because at heart, I am a creative, And then I just got trapped in the sense of just creating all these things for just other people. And there is pleasure in that, and it is amazing. But when you don't get to do things for yourself or create your own memories or your own things, it becomes an inhibitor, and it could create walls in your head and stop your creativity, and that could lead to a burnout. That's happened in the past, and I've learned from that. This plan that I'm doing now has literally been a plan that I've been working on for the past 2 years to get to the point where I'm at today. The plan is to have balance, and balance is one of those key things when it comes to managing and dealing with stress. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Christian and I just finished running. Let me end the workout. All right, we ran 2.94 miles, average pace of 13:48 seconds. And it took us 40 minutes and 43 seconds to do that. And we did a sprint. I haven't done a sprint in forever.
We could do better.
Yeah, we could do better. So we're going to ask Christian right now how he handles stress, or what's one tip that you can give to handle stress as a solopreneur. Or in your case, you and your wife were together in the business, but how you deal with it?
Being married adds extra stress, actually. But I think this is tough because I could always improve when it comes to, my stress. But really, it's just to try to dissect it, like whatever I'm doing. Try to even, obviously in stressful situations, most of the time I feel like it's just there's a lot going on. So I try to just focus on the current stuff and not try to think too much. I want to say, honestly, it sounds weird, but not to think too much about it. Like, obviously we have a lot of things going on in our business, so there'll be times where like I'll get bombarded, and then I'm like, okay, what's the priority? What's what's like the next thing in line? What's the let's do first, and just break it down. Like, okay, we'll get to everything else, but just to kind of pace yourself.
Yeah.
And then also, I do try to do breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Because I also, I do get some anger issues too. So I've always found like breathing techniques or something to deal with that help me deal with stress too.
Yeah.
But really, I think for me is just trying to almost chill.
Yeah.
If I find myself about to stress, or if I find that I'm stressing out, I just have to take a second, like forget about everything.
Yeah.
Take a step back, process, and then just work on priority.
I love that. And you know what's crazy that you mentioned you do the breathing exercise.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first like learning how to deal with stress, and obviously my wife being a licensed clinical social worker, she's done like therapies, and I forgot what the technique is called. But it's one where you like tap your elbows and your knees, and the key thing is like to close. And when you're feeling anxiety and the stress coming like a hold of you, you're tapping to let your body process everything without even like thinking. I forgot what the therapy is called specifically, but my wife went to a training for that in Clearwater, and she tried it on me because during this period in time we just had our son, and I was still trying to figure out this whole business thing with it.
That's super stressful.
Yeah, and so I was really stressed out, and I went to therapy and she talked to me through it. And I used to deal with really bad anxiety too as well, per se, like, oh man, I got this stuff that I need to figure out, especially when you're thrown into life, when you're not prepared to have a kid, you start something that you dream of too as well, and then you feel, at least for me, I would say, I felt like I had so many things like thrown at me that I now need to figure out how to make this all work and happen. But that's where like sitting down, prioritizing, evaluating yourself really comes important, because like all this stuff takes time. And I think we live in a world that's everything is so instant gratification, where it's like when you make a video and you post it, like, man, is it gonna go viral or not? And then you start feeling like, is this even worth it? And the added stress then, instead of just enjoying what you're doing and prioritizing what is important at this moment, and then adjusting along. And I think that's key when it comes to like having the balance of your approach. It's like if you're gonna build anything or do anything, know that's gonna take time, but also find some balance in between that. If you want to do a lot of wedding, then find team members that can give you the balance to then lead them in the right direction and provide a great quality service. Same thing with your life too as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, a lot of things, especially for entrepreneurs or obviously people that work for themselves. I think sometimes we overstress ourselves a little too much. Like we put extra stress, and we try obviously working for ourselves, so we want to be the best we can be. And sometimes I feel like that just stresses us out even more because we feel like we could always be doing better. We feel like we should always be chasing the next thing. So I feel like we're just adding more pressure to ourselves, and I think sometimes, again, taking that mental step back, living in the now, and just trying to kind of be, not necessarily organize yourself, but like just take it one step at a time is probably sometimes one of the best ways to leave that. Now, I'm not saying not to reach and be ambitious. We should always be ambitious and reaching, but when you get to that level where we're feeling a lot of pressure, anxiety, stress, that's when you have to slow it down, I think.
No, I agree. I think slowing it down and breaking that wall that's causing that issue with you first. And as you're breaking it down, if you got this mental barrier that you just can't pass through, or you're in this situation where you got tons of edits in the backlog or whatnot, it's like, just, all right, let me just focus in this season right now to get this done, because this is the priority for right now. But it doesn't mean this is going to be for the rest of my life, because now you can take the steps and actions to correct that. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, and again, going with managing the stress too, I think one thing I know you do too. Like it's when you see like the backlog of like all the stuff that needs to be edited, you're like just looking at all the stuff, and it just overwhelms you. But sometimes it's like you know, for example, yourself, you give yourself enough time. So even though you see this big backlog of stuff, it's not really a backlog. It's just work, right? And I think sometimes we have to like realize that, and you know, when you look into it, you're like, oh wait, actually I got more time than I thought. And then when you start kind of breaking into the weeks and your hours, you're like, you know, you start managing it a little bit better. So even just like, you know, when you're looking at the big list and all the files and all the stuff that's going on, sometimes that's very overwhelming. But when you kind of look in and just break down a little bit, you start to realize that, hey, you know what, this is manageable. I shouldn't be stressing that much.
Exactly. And honestly, that's how I even felt with like content creation. Just creating content, even for my business. It's recording.
I can't see myself. Sorry. Keep saying it.
Even for myself, when it comes to, that's how I felt stressed when, in terms of just creating content for my business. Because it's like, okay, we live in the social media age that we got to be putting out content as much as possible. But then it's like, great, like it's another added step to the long backlog. And I think for me, what I had to do is just, okay, break that barrier down. And even like right now, like it's 50 something degrees outside. Would I normally want to go out here and run, or, you know, around this lake? Not really.
Cold lake that's blowing cold water.
Yeah, cold air, like, yeah. Dude, it's insane. But we made it happen, and it's breaking that down and staying committed to your word little by little, right? And like you said, just giving yourself amount of time. And for me, it was that content creation. Like, I didn't have those things in my contracts to give me enough time to edit, to then have some of that time back for myself to work on the business and put things into motion. And also, I'm not gonna lie, last year I didn't have really no direction or really where I really wanted to go, because I was dealing with my own stuff. And now we're finally like, all right, I have some direction of what I really want to grow towards to and work towards to. And like, this is why this whole channel is about. The existence of it is just given as much value and insight as us as solopreneurs, like my friend here, Christian, and then also any other people that we come in contact with, because we're all dealing with stuff, it just in different ways. And I think seeing how we can overcome these challenges and hit our goals is the beautiful thing, because you get to see the growth take place. And don't let stress, because stress can, you know, factor many things, your home life, your work life, your own ambitions and goals, your self-doubt and fear, like all that can play a role into that stress factor. And it can be triggered in different ways. Like, it could be anger issues, it can be whatever it may be. That's why, like, I would say therapy is a huge thing. My wife is like my therapist, because obviously she's trained and all that stuff, so I get lucky. But it's not always the case for everybody else, that you have to really talk these things out, process these things out. Like, I've learned so much about myself these past, I'll say 2 years alone, of how to process emotions and how to not let it lead you to make decisions or, you know, just react, but instead of processing, then coming back to reflect on it and then, you know, take steps and actions afterwards.
Yeah, one of the things that I used to stress about, especially when I started, was expectation, right? Obviously, my wife is a successful photographer, so it almost made me feel like I had to jump in being super successful too. So like, to be fair, that's a very unrealistic expectation that I was giving myself. Because let's be real, most people that start a business, you know, especially the first year, it's not gonna be great. So like, obviously I wish I did better. I wish I'd got more video gigs, but I'm so proud of what I got. But you know, that was something I had to get over too. And like, understanding that, you know, hey, it's okay. You know, I'm still in the early stages of the business and my video career. So that was one thing that I, you know, would get have a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress. But, you know, just kind of understanding it and like really thinking about it and doing a lot of like thought kind of helps it, because it's easy to think like, oh my gosh, like I need a, you know, I need to match whatever, right? But yeah, that was just one thing that I had to, you know, it's okay.
Everything takes time, man. It takes time. It's like, I have this ambitious goal for this year to really grow my social media presence. Now, I just got to be consistent and execute on every day, but also being intentional, like going with some sort of plan. That way you don't feel stressed out in the sense that like, okay, you're being misled, right? You're just going off your emotions, but in like, hey, are you sitting down and actually planning out the things and testing that idea out, and then you can rule it out and then start the next thing if it doesn't work, right? And yesterday I didn't go to bed until almost like 1:30 in the morning yesterday, because I was literally studying like how I want to start creating my Sundog Creatives, like educational. Like I'm really pushing education this upcoming year on Sundog Creatives. It's for new beginning wedding filmmakers. Like I told you, like, hey, like I see what people are putting out there, and I'm like, you know what? I don't 100% agree, but in order to, if you really care about making an impact in the industry, then you really got to put yourself out there, just like these others are, you know, the whole luxury market thing. Yeah. And so I'm like, you know what? Like, well, I got to put myself out there. I got to test my theory and see if it actually is going to work or not. And continue adjusting until I find the right format that works, that's going to attract these people and they'll be wanting to listen and gain value. But you got to give a lot of value. And, you know, this is whole thing. So I literally sat yesterday in my office, like I did everything I wanted to do, but I just sat down and became like a student and just note taking and just studying, watching videos that I thought I liked these good points and ideas from, and catalog that, all this stuff. Because if it does work, then it becomes already a course material for the future. And I already did that work on the upfront. So so it helps out in that manner. But yeah, man, everything takes time. And like you said, like, you know, putting those expectations, you know, can hurt you if you don't meet them. If you have those high expectations, which I've done myself. Yeah. And now I've had to, like, I still keep them high. Yeah. But it's more like, all right, so, shoot for the stars, and if you land on the moon, like, hey, even better. It's still good.
I think, like you just said it, that was a great example. Like, you always set your goals. Like, you always want to, you know, kind of like when you're working out, you want to see what you can, you know, you set yourself like a weight limit. Yeah. You know, see if you can do it. If you can't do it, fine. But like, hey, you're able to get like halfway there or something like that. Like, yeah, that's better. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you set a goal, maybe you don't reach it, but then you realize, hey, I still did pretty good. Yeah. You know, I was still able to, like, last year, I was still able to supplement my income. Yeah. Which is still pretty amazing. Like, most people, again, not trying to say anything, but, you know, that was a win for me. Even though, like, I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be numbers-wise, I was still able to get something going and do pretty good. So,
and the thing is that you're not stopping. You're also building on top of this. So if this year doesn't hit, it doesn't mean that what your actions won't compound to the following year if you continue to improve. You know, like you go to the gym, you don't hit the weight that you wanted to, but you drop down, you hit the rep range, target the muscle, build the muscle, and then maybe in the next 2 weeks, then you go up to that rep range or that weight again and try to go for that rep range what you couldn't hit. So it's always compounding, and you're always growing. You're not stopping because you didn't hit your goal. You're still looking for ways to get there.
Yeah. I mean, well said.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you, my man.
Hey.
The workout today was a lot of fun. It was cold, chilly.
Yeah. The sprinting was fun.
Yeah.
Killed me a little bit.
It was his idea, not mine. Yeah. But
had to do something different.
I know. Yeah, we'll be out here again for sure. We're gonna keep this a routine
goal
here.
Is 30-minute to run the whole 3 miles in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's gonna be the goal. 30 minutes, and then once we hit that, we gotta drop it lower.
Yeah, we'll see how fast it gets us to get 30 minutes.
You know what? Like, if you're watching this video right now, end of the year, end of 2025, we gotta be like sub 25 minutes or sub 23.
Oh my gosh.
Like, dude, that's where we gotta work our way up to.
See, now you're adding stress.
No, that's not stress. That's just setting expectations, right? Yeah. Like, but we got a whole year to work our way there. We finished today at 34 minutes, so I think it's very doable if we hit it, once a week, twice a week, consistently?
Yeah, at least once a week.
Yeah.
But like
once a week is the goal.
But like, not just walking it. We gotta
run. We gotta run.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, let's do it.
All right, brother.
Peace.
Routines is the key thing, I would say, in terms of learning how to deal with stress. You know, at times when you're stressed out, there's different types of stress, right? There's like, you can have the stress of work, the stress of personal life. But if there's something that you're looking forward to that you can do and check off every single day, is the little small things, like going to the gym or going out for a run on the lake, or reading your Bible, reading your devotions, like doing things that you can control every single day, and that you can get some sense of reward, right? That dopamine hit that makes you feel good. And it's part of establishing that routine where, if you're goal orientated like I am, as you guys can tell, it's very much about getting it done and just doing it. And when you accomplish that one thing that you set out to do. It builds confidence. And it's again, like saying, it's having good expectations of yourself. Don't over like put yourself out there thinking that you're this person like Elon Musk, for example, that can do all of this or the other. I'm like, well, he has thousands of people working for him. That he has these ideas and they can go out and set the action, right? So I think we just gotta be realistic with ourselves, establish real routines that you can actually do and accomplish those. I think for the start of the year, I know I've noticed a difference in myself in terms of my energy level when working out in the mornings, even in the evenings, but also just reading my Bible and reading my devotions every single day. Makes me feel accomplished, thankful, grateful, a lot of gratitude, and this is a big part of how I live my life is through here, right? And so as a Christian, and it's walking with God and spending that time with God, praising and listening to worship music, and putting positivity in your life. I think that's huge. We're surrounded by a lot of negativity, right? Negative news sells, but you're in control of what you put out, what you expose yourself to. So if you're able to walk that straight line, remove the distractions, and if you know what you want to accomplish in that single year, right? If it's dealing with stress, then research it more, right? Understand what the cause of stress, what causes it, what type of stress you're dealing with. Seek therapy, seek help. I think just staying in the box and not doing anything about it is the worst thing you can ever do. I know for myself, when I've been in dark times, man, like bottling up feelings, you know, or just holding to things and thinking it to yourself over and over and over again is probably one of the worst things you can do. Actually speaking out loud, talking to somebody, writing, especially talking to someone is key, right? Because then you can get their perspective and you can hear yourself talking out loud, and then you can start debunking your own stresses that you have. I know when it came to back when my backlogs, I'm like, wow, I got 10 films in the backlog. Oh wow, that's a lot. You start looking at it and you keep looking at the list, but then you start realizing it's like, oh wait, let me set the due dates on this. I'm like, oh wow, I got 4 weeks for here, I got 3 more months for this one, 4 more months for this one, six, stuff like that. And every single week you're taking steps towards accomplishing it. And so if your stress is your work, you know, and you're in control of it like a solopreneur, right? We wear many hats. We're in control of what we do with our actions. If you want to see our business progress or hit the heights it wants to hit, it's because I have to take action and do it. And that's my thing to you guys, I would say, is be realistic and take the action and set a routine that you can hit the little small goals every single day, because that really does make a difference. I've seen it transform my life in the past, and I remember when I've steered away from it. I would say these past 5 years, I put my health to a side, and at times I put God to a side, and I don't want to be lukewarm. I want to be committed, right? I'm only 30 years old. I got long life ahead of me, and it's just being the intentional every single day and establishing the routines that that are going to compound to greater results. And I can say this, last year, man, I was in the most stressful state of my mind. And also, if you're not like nutritionally good, like that does play a huge role. I know, like, I started taking magnesium supplements, changed everything for me. It really helped me out in terms of my stress and anxiety that I was feeling and building. But at the time, I had so many, like last year, and this is where I'll open up to. It's I had relationships that didn't go well, didn't work out. Then I had the added stress of having 30 weddings in the backlog and figuring out for myself how to overcome it. Then I also had my wife was a stay-at-home mom all last year for the majority of the whole year. And so then I have the pressure of selling and making sure that we can hit the numbers for the business so that, I cover all of our expenses so that we're good. And I have to hit a high number every single month. So that was an added stress too as well, doing that. And, a lot of things didn't go my way. Didn't work out the way I wanted to. And had to learn, had to adjust, right? And the beautiful thing throughout, I'll say, the last year, those 7-8 months of the year, it was a lot of self-reflection and a lot of spending time with God and a lot of letting go and processing. and then forgiving myself too as well for feeling where I was up at that situation, that time point. And then learning to remove myself from those feelings, right? I've processed it. I've done the process of forgiving myself in those moments, and then forgiving those that trespass myself, right? Like I didn't work out with, and then allowing now fertile soil for God to take root and new relationships to come about, and for new dreams and new goals to take shape. And that was a process that took 8 months, I would say last year. And it wasn't really until, I would say, December of this year where I felt that spark again of wow. Like of in terms of the spark, it's not towards my business, and it's just more of life. Like I look forward to building this and doing this. And that's what this channel is all about for me. If anyone takes value, and I'm speaking to you right now, if you take value from this and it hits the heart, and like, I'm not a therapist and not this or the other. I can only talk about my experience, but it's what helped me. And I got to see change in my life, and me documenting what I'm doing on a daily basis is what I want to showcase to the world, is that don't let your setbacks hold you. Don't let your stresses, right, that you have hold you from going out and doing what you can do. And don't stay trapped in your mind. That's the worst thing you can do. Seek help when you need it. And you're in control of this stuff. Make the good decisions every day and stay accountable. This is a form of me staying accountable to my goals. And then honestly, this is honestly therapy for me. Speaking to this camera and posting out to the world is actually therapy. And if someone watches or doesn't watch, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, I want to watch these videos and reflect back on what I dealt with and how I overcame these situations, and get other people's perspective, like my friends, like Christian, Pastor Caleb, Ashley. It's really cool just to have that community of people that you can trust, and hear what they have to say too as well, and share this value with you all. This is real life. It's Thursday, January 16th, and I went to bed pretty late this morning at like 1:30 in the morning. This is the second day in a row, and this week I haven't gotten a lot of good sleep. I was really tired and pretty tired yesterday until I sat back here on my computer after church again. That is one of those key recipes for kind of disasters or not getting good rest and removing yourself away from work. But I really wanted to finish going through all the A-roll because I didn't finish the speeches nor the interviews that I had. And today is editing day. Editing day for the trailer it's fun, but sometimes stressful. Stressful in the fact that like when I start on something, I like to finish it, which is why I sometimes go to bed at 1:30 in the morning, and not removing myself because I have tight deadlines, right? I got things I want to do for myself, for this content I'm trying to create for Sundial Creatives, all this other things I really want to work on. And so when it comes to filming and editing, when it comes to editing, there's sometimes that added stress layer because today I know I'm going to spend the whole day, and I don't like to also force my creativity. I like it to come naturally. And that's why like reviewing the footage, listening to everything is so key and important for me, because I just need to know all the material and all the stuff that I liked from that wedding day that I think were very good key moments. And for Summer and Brand's wedding trailer, which I'm going to start working on today, it had so many great moments that I'm gonna use some into the trailer and then save the other stuff for the wedding film. That way there's that surprise element, but I gotta like build it up for that film. So I'm going to listen to music, review the questionnaire that I had, and remember everything about their day, and really just spend time to listen to that music. That has been the key thing for me when it comes to not falling into the trap of like what direction to go with a film. And that can be very stressful. And that's why I'm going to say like workflows and systems in your business is huge, because if you don't have those, you'll quickly fall into the trap of not knowing what to do, and then you get all that stress. That used to be the case for me, right? I've learned these processes and having process and systems as a solopreneur in your business alleviates that stress. Right now, I'm not stressed out in terms of like, okay, what direction to go with the film? How do I edit the film? How do I, showcase this, that, or the other? Not really. I think I'm a little stressed in the aspect that I know that's going to take all day long. And there is parts that it's very enjoyable, but it's just like giving my entirety to the day in terms of my attention and creativity and all that stuff into it. And it's a creative process. And so we're going to try to do as much of it today. I didn't have time to deliver the trailer, so I'll try to do as much of it today, solidify the story. If I get the A-roll down, here's a system I use when it comes to editing my trailers is I build the music, I build the A-roll, and then after I build the A-roll, then I go with the B-roll. The B-roll is the last thing I do, and that's the creative part. And sometimes I want to rush and hurry up and get to it. But when you have the music, the sound design, and the A-roll already set in stone, it makes it so much easier just to put the B-roll and figure it out, right? So like my Chicago trailer that I made a few back in September was like the start of this new system, and it really really helped, and it like really skyrocket kind of my creativity. And so this film I'm really excited because I shot anamorphic, and yeah, so I'm about to start on that. I'm going to make a whole bunch of these videos showing my systems and showcases on the Sundog Creatives page when it comes to like wedding filmmaking specifically. But when it comes to guys alleviating your stress, when it comes to work, is build systems and build good proven systems that's going to work, that fits to who you are. And if you have a team that can be replicable for your team to also follow. And if they have any suggestions, be open to listen to them, because they could have something that's way better and way more efficient. Like literally today, I've been like finding little ways of how I can like make my kit, filmmaking kit, much lighter on wedding days, because I take a lot of stuff and I like things to be done in a certain way and format, but it sometimes just adds way too much weight, or you end up having way too much gear. So I'm trying to think about how can I condense my gear for weddings and just be much more simpler. And for some weddings, it's not going to be the case. To be honest, if I'm shooting anamorphic, I know my setup is going to be pretty heavy, because I want to have the monitor, I want to have the LiDAR focus system, I want to have a mic, I want to have the Osmo too as well, just to showcase behind the scenes. Like, I know my setup is going to be heavy. But if I have a second shooter that I have to provide the gear for, or my ceremony cameras, like how can those be as light as possible, that they're quick and running gun? And yeah, I even thought about my monopod. Like, let me show you guys my monopod right now. We'll see. All right. This is the monopod I'm using. This is a YC Onion Pineta Pro with a trigger can go up and down. I think this is really really cool, really fancy for sure. But the cool part about it is normally you have the bigger video fluid heads, and I found this Ulanzi one. I've had it for quite a while, for a year ago, and I wasn't using this, and I don't know why it never clicked. And I have two of these type of monopods. I have the version 1, this is a version 2. And so on the version 1, I have the regular Manfrotto style video head, which I'm gonna switch now that I'm using Sony's and the kit is still less than 10 pounds. I can go ahead and use this as my fluid head on wedding days, and it's much easier to carry. It's cheap as well. I mean, it's $50. It's not like $150 like the Manfrotto versions, or even more. And I have a Sackler over here behind me, and that thing is super expensive. It's heavy. It's more of a production type of tripod than it is of a travel tripod to use on weddings when you're moving from one area to the next. Like, I wish, like, I know there's already a tripod out there from Potato Jet, but still too big. I wish there was like if Peak Design designed a tripod that was hydraulic, that was super small and simple, just the same size as it is, and just press of a button, all the legs extend. Dude, that would be amazing. If there was a monopod that all of a sudden over press a button can extend their legs and become a tripod, would be pretty cool. I don't know. I'm throwing out ideas here, so hopefully nobody's listening to us, so I can keep it for myself. But honestly, Is this things like always being efficient and figuring out ways to alleviate your stress. Sometimes there is added stress, right? I bought this thing right here, and it's not gonna work for my scenario in terms of putting lenses on and quickly detaching all the stuff or whatever. But it's okay because I found the right tool. I tested it out. If it doesn't work, try again. Return your stuff. The only expense you're gonna have is thought processes and time, and but it's well worth it once if you figure it out, right? And so everything good in time, or everything that is good, takes time, and you got to go through that journey to learn what works for you. So that's all it is. All right, I need to get to edit, and my dog, she wants my attention, so see ya.